Well, hello, vinyl community. Elliot here, Lazy Dogs Records, and it seems we're getting some more tags or threads going these days. I'm glad to see that. And this is MGK Boston, Mike, and his thread called 10 Guys in Suits and Ties. Okay, so first of all, when you're talking rock and roll and suits and ties, it's all fake. You just don't even go there. So if you're going to show people in suits and ties, you're going to have to show to be real, to be authentic. You're going to have to go jazz, or you're going to have to go bluegrass or old time music. So I'm going to do both, starting with jazz and song for my father, the Horace Silver Quintet. Nice suit, nice hat. These are the types of hats my father and the generation before them and on. This is what they wore. They wore hats like this, and now our Silver is sporting a nice hat, a nice gray suit, and this is "Song for My Father." Excellent album. I learned about him. My jazz journey is ongoing, and it is no means complete. I'm learning so much. Found out about him through Art Blakey, and digged Art Blakey records, and that led me to Horace Silver. Okay, how about Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie? Both sporting nice suits. Okay, this is a Savoy Jazz reissue, Bebop's Heartbeat, and they're wearing their suits now. And look at Dizzy, being the individualistic person he was. He is sporting the beret. I love finding those Savoy records. Usually, I was getting old R&B stuff on Savoy, and then I realized that they had a lot of jazz in their catalog as well. So I think they're up. Savoy was in New Jersey, I believe, is where they did all their stuff. All right, go down to New Orleans where people knew how to dress. This is Sweet Emma and her Preservation Hall Jazz Band. New Orleans Sweet Emma. And there's Sweet Emma. The men are dressed very spiffy for this album. This is a really fun album. This sound from New Orleans, uh, you know, some of it's Dixieland, some of it's not quite Dixieland, but it's its own thing. I love that this era and this sound. Don't remember exactly when this was recorded, but it's later in. It was not recorded in the 20s, obviously. But and this is on what record label is this on? VPH, the Preservation Hall label. Okay, and one of the biggest entertainers, the only African American at that time in the 1930s, late 30s, and in the 40s, that had his own nationwide radio show. One of the biggest artists in the 1940s, and of course, we all know him today, Nat King Cole Trio, and there is a artist rendering of Nat King Cole. What a great artist he was. We think of him, or my generation at least, and I think those afterwards think of him almost exclusively uh, as a vocalist until as I did until I started going deeper and discovered those trio recordings were something special. It wasn't all about his vocals. It was about his band, his piano, that sort of thing. Again, certain types of jazz appeal to certain people, and what really draws me is the 20s and 30s and 40s. Uh, Louis Armstrong and his Hot Five. Once again, another artist that by the time I was a little boy watching television in the 1960s and into the 70s, thought of Louis Armstrong as Hello Dolly. Uh, that's but he was such a great. Obviously, anybody that knows anything about jazz, and I know people watching here do, but I don't think the general public realizes what a monumental and creative and innovative artist Louis Armstrong was with the Hot Five and the Hot Seven, and his work with Earl Hines and all that sort of stuff was. But I mean, some great stuff. So I love going back and finding these reissues of his work during that era when he was the great innovator, not just the great entertainer. And, I guess if you watch the Ken Burns special on jazz, you learn a lot about Louis. And Clifford Brown Quartet in Paris. There's Clifford wearing a nice suit and tie. And I'm trying to remember who he. Uh, they were touring with a big band. I'm not going to search for it. I can't remember exactly who it was. And their orders were on your off days. Don't you go trying to make recordings and stuff while we're in Europe. Uh, and of course, exactly what all these artists did was they got together in quartets, trios, quintets, things like that, and went in the studio and made recordings for themselves to try to make some money. They weren't making that much money touring with a big band, but it opened up opportunities for them. So that's a good example. Now I'll go to the other genre that you'll see a lot of nice sporting a lot of nice suits. And this album from 1984, these guys look like everybody in my church growing up and into my 20s and 30s. This is the Country Gentleman, One Wide River. Now, those men are dressing appropriately for the occasion right there. This is on Rebel, great record label from 1984. As I said, it's Charlie Waller, the founder of the band, and I believe that's Charlie right there. I believe so. And Bill Emerson on banjo and baritone vocals, and Bill Yates on acoustic bass vocals, and Jimmy Gordio. I don't know how to say his last name. It's one of those names that just plumb evades me. Playing the mandolin and tenor vocals. Charlie was doing lead vocals. But this is a gospel album. It's got I Am a Pilgrim, Rank Stranger. So it's not exclusively gospel. Weapon of Prayer. I'm using my Bible for a road map. Are You Washed in the Blood? Great song, Are You Washed in the Blood? A friend of mine, Malcolm, and I are working on getting where we can play together, play Are You Washed in the Blood? But the Country Gentleman, one of the great bluegrass bands, started in the 1950s and went on for forever. Okay, not bluegrass, but old time brother acts. One of the great brother acts were the Blue Sky Boys. There they are. And they were extremely popular in the 1940s. Earl and Bill Bollock. They performed in Georgia and Atlanta a lot. They were originally from Western North Carolina. And they knew how to dress. Mandolin and guitar was their duo act. Duo acts were big in the 30s, 40s, and into the 50s. The evolved to the point that the Everly Brothers would maybe be a big example of what came as highly influenced by these brother duos, and our brother duo themselves or were. Clifton Chenier, we'll go into a little Zydeco. Clifton's Cajun Blues, this one's called. And Clifton was in that uh, Zydeco and Cajun influenced music. Everybody probably familiar with this archive series on Prophecy Records, which Bell distributed. But there he is sporting a white, or at least a light colored sports coat and tie. Slacks looking good. He is of African and French descent. And, those old time folks knew how to dress. When you were going to be an entertainer, you dressed properly. You didn't wear these old raggedy overalls, uh, holy blue jeans, and flannel shirts like these rock stars did. Uh, Carter family, AP. Look, there's AP. Uh, Sarah, AP, and Mother Maybell. And this was on border radio. They went to Texas and recorded and had a radio show on border radio. So they were, went way out. This was a difficult time in their lives as AP and Sarah were going through uh, basically a marriage that was destined to fail, and they did the best they could. Not everybody either wants to or can necessarily be a full-time musician. A lot of people work as a with a full-time job, and the music is what they do in their spare time. Joe Green would be an example. County Records, Joe Green fiddle album. Joe Green from the Piedmont of North Carolina, a great fiddler, and bluegrass fiddler, which he incorporated lots of different styles in. The liner notes talk about the different styles of fiddling that he incorporated. He's got another great fiddler on guitar on this album. Chubby Wise is on guitar. The great J.D. Crowe is on the banjo. Roland White on mandolin, and Benny Williams on bass. So just because he's not a full-time musician doesn't mean he is a top-notch musician and someone that commands the respect and the desire to play with that you would get when you're recognized as being a great artist. So this is County 1969. He had a used car lot in High Point, North Carolina, I believe it is. Yeah, he was from High Point, based there, and he had a used car lot. He made his living selling cars, and he made people happy playing the violin. And finally, this is a really nice album cover. From Colorado, Hot Rise, the great bluegrass band, and this is traditional ties. Here's the key: ties. Look at this album. It's black and white picture, except for the ties. And the ties are highlighted and in colored there. Great album. One of the great bluegrass bands out there. Hot Rise has made some great recordings. I don't know if they're still touring or not. I think some of the members are still with us, and but Hot Rise is a great band. Okay, so there we go. People that knew how to dress, and they did dress. They dressed the right way. They dressed. If you're going to impress somebody, get yourself dressed up. If you want to look sloppy and all that mess like a rock star, that's only going to get you so far. Put on a sports coat or a suit and a tie. Get you a nice fedora hat to put on, and be somebody. How about that? Remember, everybody, be kind to your neighbors, because folks, we are all neighbors.